Hello 12A. So now that you've reviewed your original plan and using the research and the information you've completed, created your final presentation plan, it's now time to put your PPT or your PowerPoint together. When you're doing that, you want to think not that this is not just an activity for your PowerPoint, but it is the entire seminar that you're considering. So make sure that you're thinking about your speech and what information you're going to provide on each of the slides. So we're going to look at making a good presentation. Because I didn't have you in level 1 and level 2, I just wasn't sure what level you're at in terms of PPTs. So I do apologise if I'm teaching you how to suck eggs. That's a phrase that we use in Australia when you're telling someone to do something they already know how to do. But hopefully you'll get some tips throughout this lesson and make sure and get you started on making a fantastic PowerPoint for your final seminar and final assessment. You'll notice that mine's quite dull. I'm just trying to get everything across to you as quickly as possible, so I do apologise, but at the end we're going to look at some really good examples of PowerPoint presentations. So for the moment, I'd love you to have a pen and paper out and just jot down some ideas about what you can do as we walk through this information. So develop your easy to follow structure. You want to make sure that you don't overcomplicate the seminar presentation. So you need to think about your audience and how you can best explain that information to them. It's similar to writing an essay. You need to have a well-structured organisation. So starting with your introduction and something that's compelling, something that immediately engages your audience. Whether that be an anecdote or some music that you walk into, a quick video, a shocking image. Just think about a compelling introduction. How can you immediately engage your audience? Then you're going to offer your body of evidence. So you will say, well, this is what we're going to talk about, and here is all the evidence to prove what I'm talking about. You want to sum up with key takeaways. So that's your conclusion. So your conclusion is, what do I want my audience to walk away thinking, feeling, believing, questioning? Okay, so the sum up is, how can I make sure that what I've said to my audience does actually make a difference to them? And finally, a well-prepared discussion. Okay, so it is your responsibility as the seminar presenter to actually facilitate that discussion. So you need to think about what discussion you would like to have at the end. For instance, if you were doing social media, for instance, if I presented on the influence of social media on politics, for instance, the end of the discussion, I might want to facilitate a conversation about whether there should be government censorship or international censorship on social media. I think that would be quite a heated discussion, looking at the pros and cons of that. The concept of the snowball issue, that a little bit of censorship might lead to a lot of censorship, and God forbid we end up like North Korea. So that might be something I'd like to do. So have a think about how you can create an engaging and interesting discussion at the end of your seminar. Formatting and design. Make it pop. Okay, so make something that pops, that shows interest. Having too many words up on your screen makes it very boring, tedious. Also, the audience will start reading that information and they'll stop listening to you. So remember, the PowerPoint is a tool to emphasize your main points. Choose a PowerPoint design that is aligned with your topic. If you're talking about animal cruelty, probably not have one with bubbles or stars because it doesn't have the right connotation attached to that. So make sure that your design is aligned with your topic. Make sure you do choose a design as well. Just having a blank white piece of document up on the screen, again, it's just not very engaging to the audience, but at the same time, don't go too crazy. You don't want rainbows up there. That will become just distracting and the audience won't be able to see any images or words. Keep the font and the design consistent. It's just an easy one. It's the same as when you're writing an essay. Keep the font and design consistent. You want bite-sized information, so not full sentences. Just quick dot points about what you're talking about. If I'm going to talk about the effect of animal testing on the psychology of an animal, I might just write animal psychology or animal stress, and then I'll have a paragraph spoken to the audience, but I would not put that paragraph up on the screen, just what the main point is about. So identify your main idea and identify the purpose of that slide. And the same as paragraphs, have one slide for one purpose or one slide per idea. So the slides really are about complementing your speech, okay? It's not for them, the audience, to read, and it's certainly not for you to read off of. If you're reading off of your slides, it means that I know you do not know your information. As an audience member, I'll become disengaged and bored and wonder why you didn't just send it to me so I could read it myself. So there's a lot more going on when you're doing a seminar presentation. Diversity of resources. So think about images, music, graphs, videos, statistics, and quotes. I want to see that you've been really creative with your seminar and thought outside of the box, thought, how can I engage the audience? How can I really make my seminar stand out and make it something that they're going to remember at least for a couple of weeks, if not, hopefully when you have your 10-year anniversary and you meet up again, and go, oh, I remember that seminar you did, it was fantastic, I remember it because. Practice makes perfect. So you've not finished until you've finished 3 times. So 3 is the rule. So edit, edit, edit. So edit it once, have a look, is it perfect? Edit it again, leave it for a day or 2 days, and then edit it again. Don't try and edit 3 times in one day because you're just going to be going over and thinking the same way as you did previously. When I mark your essays, I usually read through them on one day and then I leave it for 2 days and then read through and edit them, just so that I can come very fresh, making sure that I've got fresh eyes and working out a correct edit for them. And it's the same as what you need to do. Great idea in terms of essays or anything that you write or anything that you do is get someone else to review and provide feedback on it. So have one of your classmates or a friend or a family member to have a look at your presentation or even listen to your presentation. They can give you feedback. Oh, that's a bit too wordy. I can't read that word because the image is too bright. I don't really understand what you're saying here. It's going to be really, really helpful. Just a quick overview about the presentation skills that I know most of you have some really good speaking abilities, but an idea about being different, starting off with anecdotes, using your body language, or even coming in with a different perspective. Use rhetorical questions. They're a great way to, again, engage your audience. Be aware of your audience. Remember who you're speaking to. So you're not writing this for me, your teacher. You're writing this for your audience, which is your class. So you need to work out, okay, how can I make this topic interesting to the students or to the people that are in front of me? So you're not making this speech for you. You're not making this speech for a teacher. You're making this speech for your audience. So think about them as you're creating your presentation. Using humour or shock also really engage the audience. So if you make a bit of a joke or you put up, again, sorry, I keep going back to animal testing, but if I was going to put up a picture of a little mouse that was growing a prosthetic ear on its back, that would be quite shocking to the audience, but I know it would engage my audience as well. And be open and vulnerable. Show that you care about your topic. If you care about it, the audience will begin to talk about it, will begin to think and care about it as well. I always like practicing in front of the mirror. And you can consider your body language and expression. You can consider your timing and your speed of speech. Make sure that you ensure that all of your technology works. So before you do the presentation, make sure that you're putting it on the smartboard or e-board and that everything's working. That's just a top tip to keep yourself calm. And when things go wrong in presentations, it's often a little bit unnerving. So it's good to make sure your technology will all work. If you're really nervous, use palm cards, but only with dot points of your notes. Ideally, ideally you will actually know all of the information off the top of your head. So the palm cards, literally, if you get really nervous and your brain blanks, which does happen to us all, then it's good to just quickly jot down, okay, I was up to Trump being a psychopath. And then you can go straight in it. So it'll just jog your memory about what you want to talk about. Ideally, you won't know this because you'll know all of your information inside and out. And make sure you time your presentation. So here's some great examples of some PowerPoints that I thought would be useful for us to have a quick look at. This is actually quite a good website. So it's graphicmama.com blog PowerPoint presentation examples. So definitely encourage you to pop in here. Just make sure that I'm sharing the right thing. Yep, everything's okay. Yeah, so there's some great just top tips and examples and things, but I've chosen 2 that I thought would be really relevant or interesting. So let's go through. This is 19 slides. Obviously, we're not going to hear their speech, but I just want you to look at the PPT, at the PowerPoint, and consider before you create your own PowerPoint what it should look like. So you can see that the colours are quite dramatic. They've got sort of a blacky grey on white and red. We live in a VUCA, and this person has highlighted that particular acronym to really make it stick out. Now it's taken down the acronym, and you can imagine he's going to explain each of these 4 words and each of these 4 ideas, but on the PowerPoint, he's kept it really, really simple and straightforward. Then we've got quite a dramatic looking picture, and again, only really short, sharp points that they've got there. So he's used actual quote here and given the particular quote. So do feel free to use quotes. It does make it more interesting. Again, to deal with a changing battlescape. So he's using the idea of leaders and the type of world that we're living, and making it, you can kind of feel his perspective on that. Here he's used a graph so that we can see the changes, and he would explain that, or she would explain that. And again, the imagery behind really does make it quite dramatic. So you can see up at the top here, it's using the volatile and going through each of these slides to go through the details of that. He's kept some consistency here in terms of colour. And down here you can see in both of these, the person's actually, again, kept that consistency of the font and the colour in the background. Then he's moving on to complex, ambiguous. Again, simple but really meaningful images. This person's really, really thought about how they can really punch their point through. And you can see down here that they've only used very simple, not even a full sentence to explain what this slide is going to be about. Then he's done what I like to call the full circle moment. So he's gone from the beginning to the end and used something that's very similar. So you can see the connection through that process that we've gone through. Finally, he's looking at the takeaway. As a leader, how can you navigate the VUCA world? So this person is probably going to then speak about how can we do this? This is what I want you to take away from my seminar. This is the reason you've been involved in it. And really cleverly, he's swapped these words around, which is great. Change the colour. You can see that VUCA is in red, and then we've got green. So we've got different relationships to those different colours, one being danger and one being sort of go or good. And he swapped that around. And then he goes through this as well. And again, you can see that there's a big difference in the images that he's using. So circles that are not very dramatic. We've got a love heart, an eye. So it's a really good example of what you could do with your slide. The second one that I want to show you is a little bit different. Here we go. So how to successfully run a remote team now. This pops, it's bright but streamlined. It's really interesting. We've got lots of different colors. I know what it's about immediately, not even reading that, because I can see that we've got images of these people working on their laptops. So you'll see it's really simple. Again, he's used some great imagery to get the point, and he's going to talk about this entire process, or she's going to talk about this entire process, and gives us a bit of a snapshot of what they'll talk about in this slide. Again, the percentage. I'm going to explain this graph to us, which actually looks really, really funky. Yes, it does have a bit of branding Apple logo going on there, but it's a really funky, simple and interesting design. And it just complements what this person's going to be talking about. The colours, again, they're popping really simple. They're using some specific statistics, but not putting a whole paragraph up there. Rather than just using a graph, they've used images of paper here, which is really great, and using a quotation as well. Again, the simplicity and the colours, quotations. It's just really streamlined. They've kept the same font throughout. They've made it interesting and relevant. They've also given you some related content, some ideas of other things that you might want to do, and that's it. But yeah, it's really bright. So if you're talking about something that's quite bright and happy, that might be a really good methodology. But I hope that this has given you an idea about the quality that I will be looking at from you all. As I said, do feel free to jump on and have a look at 17 PowerPoint presentation examples that show style and professionalism. It's a fantastic website. So jump on and have a look and see what quality that you in level 3 could complete. So we'll just go back to my very boring slide in comparison. And I just wanted to remind you what the requirements are for this seminar. So it must go for 10 minutes excluding videos. If you've got a video of 2 minutes, and really it shouldn't be any more than 2 or 3 minutes to keep the audience engaged, then your full seminar will be 13 minutes. You must facilitate a 5-minute discussion with the audience, and you must not read off anything. I don't want anyone reading off their slides or reading off a piece of paper. Level 3, I'm expecting high-level seminars ready for TED Talk in the future. So if you do have any questions, as usual, I'm available on WeChat. I'm going to give you some allocated time in your class during your English classes to actually start working on your PowerPoint presentation and your seminar in general. Again, make sure that this presentation is not just about the PPT, although the PPT is important. It's about how am I going to influence my audience? How am I going to make my presentation interesting? So if you have, if you'd like to send me your draft PPT at any time, or have any questions about it, or have any questions about how to deliver your speech, or are a bit concerned that maybe your organisation isn't correct, anything at all, I'm here to help. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next class.